Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Obama was willing to pay a steep price in exchange for Army Sergeant Bo Bergdahl. The Guantanamo Five are top Taliban commanders, and the group has tried to free them for more than a decade. According to a 2008 Pentagon dossier on Guantanamo Bay inmates, it was disclosed by WikiLeaks, all 5 men released were considered to be a high risk to launch attacks against the U.S. and its allies if they were liberated. Mullah Mohammad Fazl is Taliban's former deputy defense minister and is wanted by the United Nations for his role in massacres targeting Afghan's Shiite Muslim population. Mullah Narullah Nouri was a senior Taliban military figure directly subordinate to Taliban's supreme leader, Mullah Omar. Nouri led troops against U.S. and coalition forces and is also wanted by the UN for possible war crimes, including the murder of thousands of Shiites. Abdul Haq Wasik is a former deputy minister of intelligence. At one point, he tried to cooperate with U.S. forces in Afghanistan, asking for a GPS system as well as a special radio to communicate with the U.S. military after the invasion in 2001. His dossier says that while he was deputy intelligence minister, he was a crucial liaison between the Taliban and other Islamic fundamentalist groups. Mohammed Nabi Omari held several military leadership posts for the Taliban. He helped organize the al-Qaeda and Taliban militias that fought against U.S. and coalition troops in the first year of the war. Nabi maintained weapons caches and supported extremist activities by smuggling fighters and weapons. Nabi maintains strong ties to active networks. Khair-ullah Karikwa, a former Taliban governor of Herat, was considered by the Pentagon's 2008 dossier to be a likely heroin trafficker and a major opium drug lord in western Afghanistan, and he likely participated in meetings with Iranian officials after 9/11 to help plot attacks on U.S. forces. The dossier says the detainee claimed to be a longtime friend of Afghanistan's President Hamid Karzai. According to AfghanistanAnalysts.org, Karikwa is the most senior of the 5 on the list. He is one of the fraternity of original Taliban who launched the movement in 1994. In other words, he is someone who will still command a great deal of influence and respect among today's insurgents. This week's secret diplomacy was not the first time the U.S. government has engaged the Taliban in an effort to negotiate a prisoner swap for Bergdahl's release. In 2011, State Department officials held a series of meetings with Taliban leaders in Doha. At the time, Dianne Feinstein opposed the swap, saying, "These are major Taliban figures. They are not minor people, and they will not be held in maximum security custody. Forget that it won't be Guantanamo, just maximum security custody. And in my view, there's no way of knowing what they may do and what kind of propaganda they may breed." Lawmakers suspected the released Taliban could eventually end up returning to the fight. So what has changed in the last few years? The United States just announced it's winding down the war in Afghanistan to concentrate on emerging terrorist threats elsewhere. The sudden release of these Taliban commanders now will end up replenishing the diminished leadership ranks of the Afghan Taliban.
Live on this June 3rd, 2014 Tuesday edition. I am your host, Alex Jones. I am on the road today. I will be riding shotgun with David Knight, co-host of the radio show, along with Paul Watson, who also co-hosts the radio show / TV transmission on a regular basis. So Watson will be joining us from England. We're also going to have another guest who has a TV network in England, a host on a TV network that he also helps manage, who's going to be breaking down Bilderberg 2014 and, again, Richie Allen. So we're going to have Richie Allen, David Knight, Paul Watson, and Alex Jones here today. Huge developments on the rollout of the Homeland Security Grid against domestic groups, breaking at Infowars.com. It's all coming up straight ahead on this Tuesday edition. I'm Alex Jones. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday, June 3rd, 2014. I am your host, Alex Jones, coming to you from deep in the heart of South Texas, on the road with my family, but also working on some stories while I'm at it. We're going to have David Knight, host of InfoWars Nightly News and co-host of this radio show, along with another host of the Nightly News and co-host of this radio transmission, Paul Joseph Watson, today. And we have some other guests as well. Everything that we have predicted so far is now, unfortunately, beginning to unfold. And I say that with heavy heart because we know the globalists, we know their game plan. And for those of us that are informed and that read the globalist own statements, it's hidden in plain view. We know the other shoe is about to drop. We know their battle plan. We don't know exactly when they're going to be executing certain aspects of it, but we know their goal. And we know that they always try to end up carrying out their goal. Even when they don't succeed, they try again. That's why the New World Order technocrats are in control. Now, you've got shows like Homeland where you have U.S. military troops, Marines, Army, you name it, that have been captured by Al-Qaeda and the Taliban and the Haqqani network. That's basically a globalist front group. I mean, those Muslim extremists exist, but they've been funded and protected, and they're doing a double deal with the globalist. That's on record now in Libya, Syria, you name it. Egypt, the list goes on and on. And you have all these shows, movies, dramas, cartoons, comic books, where returning veterans are Al-Qaeda. We have the Washington Times, we have the Forbes magazine, AP, Reuters, Southern Poverty Law Center, all of them in the last 2 years coming out with countless headlines that the vets are going to team up with Al-Qaeda and attack America. The vets are going to team up with Al-Qaeda and the Tea Party and attack America. The vets will attack your police department, police. This is what the media says. You've gotten the internal reports going back 6 years, been public for 2. We first broke this, but police all know you get these reports that say you will be attacked by veterans with IEDs fighting for Al-Qaeda. And the #1 terror threat is veterans linked up with the Tea Party and Al-Qaeda. Ladies and gentlemen, that's like saying in a comic book fashion that Superman likes kryptonite and puts it on a cereal in the morning. The most Islamophobic, if you want to use that liberal term, group is the Tea Party. The most pro-war group in the past has been the Tea Party type group. The last people, I know so many vets, so many troops, I mean, even if they don't like the wars and know the wars were a fraud, they had buddies and people killed in combat. I have a lot of family that are active duty. I mean, they absolutely hate the jihadis with a passion and want to continue to go re-up just so they can fight them and kill them and settle vendettas and scores. It is 180 degrees the opposite of reality, but that's how the PSYOP works. They found in psych warfare that if you put out a lie so big, as Hitler said, the bigger the lie, the bigger they'll, just repeat it enough, they'll believe it. To say that the Liberty Movement and the Tea Party and the Anti-Federal Reserve Movement, the pro-gun movement, the pro-family movement is linking up with Muslim extremists and that the veterans are linking up with both groups. I first told you this 6 years ago with articles written by Kurt Nemo with videos embedded with myself breaking it down, where I told you they were going to roll out white Al-Qaeda. Because we got internal Justice Department memos when Obama first got in. And people saw these memos we put out and the articles and just said, there's no way, you're nuts. About 2 years later, started hearing the first reports, white Al-Qaeda is going to hit, veterans are going to hit, veterans IEDs, they're going to hit, they're going to hit, they're going to hit. Now you got TV shows, movies, and now you've got Bo Bergdahl. And I've really had time to think about this now, 3 or 4 days. Whether he's just a AWOL guy that got picked up and turned or whatever, it doesn't matter. He's being used to sell the narrative now of domestic troops being Al-Qaeda. While at the same time, Obama doesn't care how much trouble he gets in now because he can pardon himself. It's also part of demoralizing the military on so many fronts and really setting the precedent now to negotiate with Al-Qaeda. And I've told you there's a reset going with Al-Qaeda where they're rehabilitating them in the Washington Post and in Foreign Affairs and the Council on Foreign Relations publications. You can type in the term, we need Al-Qaeda. You can type in the term, Al-Qaeda's doing a great job. Al-Qaeda's going to bring down Assad. You know, you'll see CNN stories of, oh, the government is reaching out to al-Qaeda now on social networks, being their friend. That'll reform them. That's introducing you to the idea that they're not bad guys anymore, except when we need to have them attack us to then take your liberty. No, it's the Tea Party and the veterans. And again, folks, I'm not tooting my horn. I study the globalists. I mean, we have incredible sources. I mean, I have retired 3-star general sources. I have retired 2-star generals, 1-star admirals. You've heard some of them on the air. I've had former Joint Chiefs on, like Admiral Moore before he died. One of the most famous spies, but not famous because he is a real spy, would be Pachinik, who the Jack Ryan character on record, Clancy said that he was based on. And I mean, it's really true. The Justice Department's getting set to indict him for 30 years ago, reportedly not negotiating with the Red Brigade when they killed the Prime Minister of Italy. And Paul Watson has an article out on that today. I mean, I'm here on air interviewing people that only come on this show and break this news. And quite frankly, I don't even know why in my life I'm in such a bizarro world. I'm not here bragging about all this. It's incredibly dangerous. There's no doubt they're trying to indict Pachinik right now because he comes on this show and blew the secrets of the CFR wide open here. There's no doubt. So I just want listeners to understand something. You're getting real information here, and I'm risking my life and my name and my treasure and my family to bring you this information. And I don't want your thanks. I want your prayers, because we're doing something real here. And it's an example of how we can change the world together. You go up to Infowars.com. We have that article dealing with Pachinik I'm going to be covering later. But Obama administration pursues ex-State Department official for refusing to negotiate with terrorists. Steve Pachinik accused of being complicit in the murder of Italian Prime Minister. Folks, Pachinik's been accused of that in the BBC, the London Telegraph, the big Italian papers for years. They're having a parliamentary governmental investigation last year of the CIA and the Army for that. And I'll tell you point blank, folks, I don't think Pachinik's a bad guy. He believes in what he's done. And I'll get him back on now that he's willing to talk about this. He's never been willing to talk about this before. But this is all Gladio type stuff. I'm not saying Pachinik was involved in that. But then there's the argument, well, we stopped the communists from taking over. So what do you want to let the communists take over Italy, Alex? We did what we had to do in combat. I mean, this is the attitude of these guys. But now you notice Gladio's false flags, folks, if you're a new listener. Famous false flags. And you would see that as a false flag. Pachinik, they say, manipulated the Red Brigade into killing him so that they could then turn everybody against the communists for killing the Prime Minister, who was popular. But still, that's not really a false flag in the classical sense. If he didn't negotiate and they killed the Prime Minister, then how are they trying to indict him? He even gave the case number yesterday. We looked it up. It's on Infowars.com. It's a huge story. Now, let's shift gears here, folks. I just got into that so you understand the level we're at. I'm in this way above my head. I'm in this 1,000 feet above my head. But let's get something clear. Anyone in government, Obama, the Clintons, the globalists, Vladimir Putin, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, anybody who thinks that they're in control of this and that they're in over their heads are lying to themselves. The truth is, we're all in over our heads. The establishment is out of control. They can't even see the angles anymore because there is no chivalry, there is no honor. Pachinik was sanctioned on record for operations for the Army and the Pentagon and the CIA. This has come out in the hearings. They declassified it a few years ago in Italy. That's when they declassified. The government knew that Gladio was with the U.S. Army staging terror attacks and blaming on the communists. Separate thing, but in the same basket that the Italian government was in on as well. When you look at this, now they're trying to burn Pachinik and opening up this whole can of worms just because he comes on this show. You can guarantee he hardly even publishes books anymore. He co-authored stuff with Clancy, produced movies, you name it. As kind of a shadowy guy. Nobody even knows what he really looks like. And then now they're trying to put him in jail. I mean, that shows how reckless they are. And then no one releases somebody like Bergdahl, who's clearly bare minimum AWOL, for 5 terrorists, knowing now that even if they're not terrorists, people will start grabbing embassy people, military people, officers. Nobody's safe. I mean, you don't do things like this. You don't negotiate with terrorists. Their attitude was that the people at Waco were terrorists when they weren't. They were domestic group attacked premeditatedly. But they burned that place down and sent Delta Force in to blow up the church records vault, the concrete building inside, to kill the kids with a shape-charged mine on the roof, because the attitude was, we kill everyone, we don't negotiate with terrorists. And the Delta Force memo came out that we're going to be pulling triggers, and this is not an arrest situation. We have the FLIR footage of them killing everybody that tries to go out the back. So anybody who's done these operations for the globalists now, you can be hung out to dry. So that's what I'm saying. Don't be involved in stuff like this. Don't do immoral stuff where you stage terror attacks believing you're fighting something even more evil, so you do it to blame it on the evil, to bring down the evil. You don't defeat the evil, you become the evil. Now, when we come back, we'll talk to David Knight, holder to create Homeland Security domestic task force in every town. It's coming. It's Northcom. Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central. We're here live. I'm your host, Alex Jones. Riding shotgun today are David Knight and Paul Watson. And I'll be handing the baton to them in the second and third hour today. I'll be hosting all of the shows coming up next week back in studio. But I think it's great to get some of the other hosts in here, because I think they do just as good a job as I do. In some cases, even better. David Knight's got really painful but also powerful news dealing with suffocating babies. The government's latest evil, because if they can set the precedent to do that with premature babies and go, oh, it's bioethics, it's for research, you know, we're shooting black people up with syphilis, it's for research too. Then, oh, it's just abortion, it's not killing a baby, it's just infanticide. Then they can get away with anything. So, you know, you've heard about them heating hospitals with burned babies and killing babies out of the womb. Well, how about suffocating babies? How about cutting off their oxygen? You or I do that, we go to prison, and we should. But when the loving government does it, oh, then it's okay. So, again, that is coming up. Now, getting back to this article on Infowars.com, holder to create Homegrown Terrorism Task Force. Well, let me give you a news flash. They've already done it. And the Viper teams and the TSA are to be the little federal minders. And they're going to arm them now. It's already happened with the Viper teams a decade ago or more. And then it's locally trained special units of police who get extra pay. So everyone scrambles to want to be part of that. These special event police were first just the SWAT teams. Now it's basically half the force in major cities like Boston, New York. And it's just the federalization of police. And the new target, Holder, you can go watch the video report at Infowars.com. Holder says it shouldn't be overseas and shouldn't be Al-Qaeda. Just what the secret document said 6 years ago. You guessed it, it's who? Veterans, gun owners, Tea Partiers, because they're with who? Al-Qaeda. Now, the White House is really with Al-Qaeda. 60+% of the force attacking Assad for 3+ years is Al-Qaeda. It's on record, but it's public. It doesn't matter. No. I'm a libertarian constitutionalist gun owner. So, see, I'm a suspect now with Al-Qaeda, yes. And I've also got Keebler elves in my pocket. And I rode to work today on a unicorn. And when I go to the bathroom, folks, a potpourri comes out. I mean, I don't mean to be gross here, but this is pure BS. And everybody knows it. But we need to call these scum out, because it's meant to be over the top. But the general public goes, well, it's so over the top, it must be true. And then the cops are just, get up against the wall. You might be one of them. I mean, it's just, no, I reject it, okay? I don't use the drugs the government ships in on record. I'm not involved in all the government corruption, all the corporate corruption. I'm not guilty. I'm innocent until proven guilty, not innocent until I'm proven a collectivist, progressive slave. You people are the ones involved in all the weirdness. I mean, look at Akron and all these navigator groups they've got. Of course we predicted they'd be engaged in all these new crimes. And now it turns out in every major city, the navigators are just stealing money, stealing IDs, I mean, it's a criminal group, folks. And criminals get off on doing bad things. They get off on releasing a deserter and releasing 5 terrorists. They get off on teaching kids that, you know, and showing 5-year-olds in public schools 2 men French kissing. A normal person just doesn't want to corrupt a kid. with heterosexual or homosexual stuff. They're deviant, ladies and gentlemen. I never get sick of camping, never get sick of fishing, never get tired of hanging out with my buddies and laughing, never get tired of, beautiful women, looking at them, admiring them. I just like normal stuff. Never get tired of the Caribbean, never get tired of the sun, never get tired of enchiladas, never get tired of playing with my children, never get tired of beautiful art, never get tired of great weather, never get tired of being honorable. Just I'm not into screwed up things. They are, and they're coming after us. And they're saying we're Al-Qaeda. And if we roll over and let them say we're Al-Qaeda when they publicly run Al-Qaeda, then we deserve what we get. Attorney General Eric Holder unveiled his plan to create a new Justice Department task force this week, which will focus on the threat of homegrown terrorism. In the video posted on the department's website Monday, which we have linked, but I want you guys to go get it. I want to play that. I don't know why we didn't embed it, but for whatever reason. In the video posted to the department's website Monday, Holder, in fact, just call Watson, ask him to link to it. Holder argued that the focus on terrorism should return to the U.S. as opposed to remaining overseas. We face an escalating danger from self-radicalized individuals within our own borders, Holder said, as the nature of the threat we face evolves and include the possibility of individual radicalization via the internet. See, the internet and free speech is terrorism now. It is critical that we return our focus to potential extremists here at home. We're going to come back and finish this and then get to the special information that's really incredible with babies. I say cutting off oxygen to babies in the neonatal unit, I think that's terrorism. Promoting George Washington and private property and the family and guns is not terrorism. But to scumbag criminal filth it is, who wants to indict our guest, Dr. Pachinik, because he comes on this show. All right, we're going to David Knight here in just a few minutes to get his take on the Justice Department's full rollout with local domestic spy units, you name it, looking for the terrorist. That means the ATF, back to the Clinton days, burying pipe bombs on your property and saying Alex Jones had pipe bombs. That's the standard deal that they did to literally hundreds of people back under Clinton. Or having one of their informants claim, yeah, I heard Alex at the bar. He was claiming he was going to, shoot the governor or something. Let's get one thing straight. I don't have any illegal weapons. I don't plan any offensive attacks against government. Never have, never will. I'm in the info war, but I will defend myself if attacked by anybody. And I have that natural right. But just last week, the ATF wants to ban tannerite. We have a shooting show we do occasionally for InfoWars Nightly News, and you can go to the store and buy tannerite, and might as well ban fireworks if you're going to ban that. I mean, the mortars you shoot out of a firework are probably 20 times more powerful explosively than tannerite. I know, I've played around with it, fireworks and tannerite on the shooting range on TV, and they're now trying to say that's terrorism and ban it. They want to make us the bad guys. They want to shift this whole bureaucracy onto us. That's what always happens in countries. That's what tyranny is government decides to just take over via the special interests that are controlling it. And you can go to the report on Infowars.com where we have the quotes from the Justice Department's own website. And we have the new Department of Defense directive saying their main mission is fighting domestic groups, the Tea Party here in America. That came out last week in the Washington Times, Bill Gertz. So we also have Fox News and Napolitano doing a report on the FBI creates then foils 99 out of 100 terror plots. Even the New York Times had to admit 99 out of 100. And I want to give government credit. This only happens to me maybe once a year now. It used to happen at gas stations, at the shopping mall, at the grocery store, at any video signing event or any event I went to. They would have 2 or 3 different feds come up and say, hey, Alex, let's start killing feds. Let's start blowing stuff up. Come out in the parking lot. I've got a rocket launcher. And I would just say, you're obviously a fed or a federal informant. Hey, get a camera on this guy. And they go, hey, no big deal, Alex. See you later. Just making sure you're not planning anything. I mean, half the time they would admit they were feds. Guys would get on both sides of me on an elevator and go, want to attack the State Department today, Alex? We know how to attack it. And I'm just like, 6'4" giant Marine Corps colonels. And I go, you guys are Marines, aren't you? I know that's who guards the State Department. Well, we do know people with State Department security. You better not plan anything. And I'm just like, you guys are really a joke. I start taking photos of them. I mean, you know, that happened at Bilderberg in 2008 because Hillary and Obama were there, and they were hopping mad. This is at my hotel 3 miles away. I've got Marine Corps office. You know, I mean, it's just they were driving around flipping us off and stuff. Their underlings days later following us around. So I'd pull over and get out, and then they'd drive off. I mean, it's like, look, I haven't done anything. I'm a good guy. Just because you say I'm a bad guy and imagine I'm doing something wrong, that's not true. The globalists are the ones running this country into the ground that have hijacked it illegitimately. And I'll use the French analogy of the Vichy French who stood down to Hitler. You have to dig into the history books, but that's really a fact. The French just stood down, folks, because most of their general staff have been paid off. They were then made the oligarchs, the dictators of France. And if you guys want to sell out to this, you know, be my guest. You're going to be hung out to dry, and we're going to be opposing you. Your bosses will hang you out to dry from one angle, and we're going to be opposing you from the angle. Dishonor is not the way to go. And I know most people in the military, and the police for that matter, are not dishonorable. You're just compartmentalized. So that's why the globalists are having trouble executing all this, because they're up there on the news going, our new enemy is the Tea Party, and anyone who's an evangelical Christian may be court-martialed. That's Fox News with the Army manual last year saying, don't be part of the Tea Party or the evangelicals. You may be court-martialed. Obviously, the people saying and doing that are the bad people. I mean, this is a no-brainer. It's like the Simpsons episode where the aliens land. They have two big heads, and they're like, we have taken over your planet. Submit, and we will treat you nice, you know, like politicians. Or you can vote for Slore or for Gore. Or it's something like that. Maybe we can find the clip on YouTube. But I mean, if aliens landed and came out and said, we're your rulers, arrest Ron Paul, arrest Alex Jones, would you then say, yes, I'm for the aliens? Because the globalists are that alien to America, that alien to freedom, that openly authoritarian. Your children belong to us. Turn your guns in. Raising the debt does not raise the debt. 2 + 2 = 5. If you have a business, you didn't build it. We're going to teach your 5-year-olds that how two men French kiss. Everything is fine.
System. You'll have to vote for one of us.
He's right. This is a two-party system.
Well, I believe I'll vote for a third-party candidate.
Go ahead. Throw your vote away.
And again, if you're watching on TV, you can see the aliens there, but at the podium and everybody deciding, well, we better vote for one. I mean, I actually think if aliens landed, had green skin, but walked out and said, you're racist if you don't give us your children's brains, there would be people that came out with meat cleavers, hacked their kids' heads open, pulled the brains out, and would run up under Stockholm Syndrome, giving the brains to the aliens. I'm not kidding. In fact, if the aliens were scary looking, they would do it even faster because they would, oh, let me appease you. And the aliens said, good. Your children's brains are delicious. Now we're going to melon ball yours. This is the mind control of the normalcy bias, the mass Stockholm Syndrome, the learned helplessness, whatever you want to call it. I personally am done with it. Now, David's got some big breaking news we're getting up at Infowars.com. It's only at Drudge right now that I saw it, so we'll show that on screen in a moment when we get to it. But it's just par for the course, and we're going to break down the eugenics movement, medical experimentation on children currently going on. And this just broke. They've been covering it up since 2006. But before I go any further, the system is flipping everything now onto the American people. It's that simple. And they're announcing, yep, the Army's preparing for war against the American people. And it's the Tea Party gun owners veterans. Yes, we're going to set up local, rural, Homeland Security, military units to watch the farmers and to work with farmers to spy on each other. We should be spying on the criminal, illegitimate government. But again, people don't know about occupation. They don't know about collaborators. They don't know about infiltration. They don't know about corporate infiltration. They don't know about economic hitmen. The third world knows about this. We have been so free here for so long, we literally have no political immune system to this and are wide open, and it's happening. The good news is military brass were concerned and leaked this information to the Washington Times last week that we covered so much. And it's just the latest signpost. We already know that here. But the point is a debate is forming. And then now the Justice Department's out today, you know, saying we need to target the American people. We're going to get that video clip and play it coming up in the next hour. So this is the reality. Now, before I shift gears into the culture of total experimentation, the culture of dehumanization with David Knight. Prepare to hand the baton to him and Paul Watson coming up for the next 2 hours, and a special guest that's also joining us from Europe with some breaking news and intel on Bilderberg and kind of the condensed final data or datum on that. I want to remind listeners that we have the very best products available, in my view, available at InfoWarsLife.com. And we have now the Super Female Vitality that's sold out. But they had close to 1,000 bottles at the laboratory that they'd overrun for us, knowing we'd need more. And so after that's gone, we may not have any for upwards of a month. We've only done internal, tests with folks that have tried it. It's 10 different known concentrated organic herbs that are known to revitalize women, their glands, you name it, libido, energy. We've seen bigger response with women with this than we've seen with men with the Super Male Vitality, and the response has been excellent with that. You've heard the rave reviews from callers, unsolicited. And we thought women went bonkers good, happy when they did the Male Vitality. It's got 8 herbs. This has 2 more with the Female Vitality, Super Female Vitality. It's just that it affects women more. They go even more bonkers in a good way, bouncing off the walls in a good way from what we've seen with energy, you name it, when they do the Super Female Vitality. So try it, ladies and gentlemen, regardless you're funding the broadcast and what we're doing. And then we've got the new X2 Super iodine that comes from 7,000 to 10,000 feet in the ground. That's how deep the mine is. Purple, true iodine crystals. We know of no other supplier or manufacturer that has this source. And it took group years to get this source. You had to jump through a lot of DEA hoops to get this source. You can do a lot of stuff, obviously, with the raw iodine. And this is now in the glycerin tincture from palm oil of the highest quality, totally organic. And I forgot to bring a bottle with me on this 5-day trip. And Richard, will you ask them to overnight it to our next destination, a bottle of X2 immediately, please? I'm literally kicking myself since I left Sunday, wanting my X2. I brought my Super Male. I brought my Silver Bullet. I brought my Lung Cleanse. I did not bring X2. I thought I brought it from my house. We have X2. It will sell out, but it'll only be a few weeks till we get more X2. If you want the X2, get it. It's available right now at InfoWarsLife.com. Now, we've still got the original Survival Shield that's excellent. I think it's great for children. Consult your physician beforehand because it's a lot more palatable and not as strong. Regular iodine is bound. It's black. It stays black on paper. It's still something great, something you need, obviously, in my view, and what doctors and others have said, and even the government admits you need it. But the issue is this Survival Shield is more palatable and is not bound and turns blue on paper, not black. Now we have the bright red. You've never seen iodine like this. Bright red Alive X2 that then turns electric blue purple on paper. We've got a test of that, just showing people just the way it looks to the eye, why it's so different against leading competitors. I'm not even against leading competitors. I started out a few years ago trying to protect my thyroid and other things and taking the Lugals and stuff, and it just hurt my stomach and it didn't feel good, and it just didn't have the same effect. And for some people, it's fine. Some people like the other type better. I think more power to you. You should stock it all. Because from what I've read, it may last longer than ours. The issue here is that this stuff is bioavailable right into the blood, from what I've been told. Just find out for yourself, regardless you're supporting the broadcast. 888-253-3139 to call and order. 888-253-3139. 888-253-3139. I want to thank you all for your support. And lastly, don't forget this hour was brought to you by mypatriotsupply.com/Alex. mypatriotsupply.com/Alex. Non-GMO, super high quality, amazing customer service, widest selection, who I choose to use for myself and my family. mypatriotsupply.com/Alex. Or you can simply call the toll-free number that's on that sub-area of the website. They have the specials right there. And you can also find a lot of other preparedness items at mypatriotsupply.com/Alex. Now, shifting gears to the report that just went live at Infowars.com that I saw on Drudge this morning that made me angry. If the globalists can set the precedent to nerve gas our troops and even kill them in secret tests, like Shad, and inject black people with syphilis, let them spread it for 50 years and die of it, total torture, microscopic worms that eat your brain. if they can just constantly do all this and burn down Waco and under U.S. Code Title 50, Chapter 32, subsection 1528, paragraph B, say that secret testing is illegal unless it's for law enforcement or research purposes, then it can be lethal. They have it on the books. They can kill us. Well, I say your law is a stinking fraud. But this is the technocratic, mad scientist, Dylan of Otramaru meets Joseph Mengele, angel of death mindset that is about kill babies up to age 3, kill the old, death panels, don't give the soldiers health care, much worse under Obama. It's a plan. It's a plan. And David Knight's got details of the report. We're working on getting the lady on. We've been working on it a few days, but now it's broken and gotten big. David Knight, tell us about this latest horror as we're totally dehumanized and as the government sets the precedent to kill us or bring us close to death and do illegal testing whenever they feel like it. Just like they've got caught doing secret lethal testing in New York State on foster kids, New York Daily News, until the kids die feeding little black kids pesticides. Al Sharpton said nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, Alex. This is a story that's being broken by Cheryl Atkinson. And if you remember, just before I started InfoWars, there was a story that InfoWars broke about experiments that were going on by the government at the University of North Carolina.
You broke it because you worked with the group. Yeah.
Right. At the University of North Carolina, at their hospital. Now, this is at the University of Alabama at their hospital. And the parallel in both of these cases is that they're experimenting on people. There is no informed consent in either of these cases, of course, and you cannot, even with informed consent, do things to people that would threaten their life. Now, in the case of North Carolina, they were taking diesel exhaust and feeding that directly into a mask with people who were sitting in an enclosed room, and they had searched for people who had respiratory and heart illnesses because they were trying to bump up, this is under Lisa Jackson,
to then cook the books.
Exactly.
To then cook the books, and wasn't it hundreds of times the safe level?
Yes, it was. It was like 70 to 100, between 70 to 100 times what they said was lethal. And she had gone into congressional testimony, Lisa Jackson, said, there's more people dying from fine particulate matter than there are from cancer, because what they were trying to do was to increase their bureaucracy. They were trying to increase the regulation. They're trying to shut down traditional power sources. But in this case, you have to wonder, what in the world is their agenda? And let me read from this report from Cheryl Atkinson, because what she points out, this is going back to 2006, a family with a child born at 24 weeks into the pregnancy. It's only 1 pound, 11 ounces. They say he lays motionless in the incubator, and he's in the neonatal intensive care unit. And so these people from the government, from a National Institute of Health funded study, come to them, and she says, I remember them telling me that they were a support group who would be pretty much hold my hand through the development process. Now, you talk about a cynical
These are literal, treacherous devil demons.
Yes.
Literally preying on someone, lying and saying, we're going to help your baby, while they prepare to suffocate them.
Yes. Now, where does this support group come from? Well, you know, they could say, well, no, we told her that we were part of a study called SUPPORT. And this is an acronym, and they choose these acronyms very carefully. It actually stands for Surfactant Positive Airway Pressure and Pulse Oximetry Randomized Trial. But they can come in and say, we're part of a support group. Now, what they're actually doing is they're randomly manipulating oxygen.
And by the way, it's okay because it's a fancy acronym, support. It's okay to turn the oxygen off.
Yeah, exactly. And they presented themselves, this lady understood them presenting themselves as a support group. In no way did they ever tell these parents that they were going to randomly adjust the oxygen to this little premature baby who's struggling with so many health problems. You don't have to be a doctor or a rocket scientist to know that if you deprive anyone, especially a premature baby, of oxygen, that's going to cause...
That's right. And in the study, for those that don't know, with thousands of babies I was reading all over the country, that they would sit there and literally test what would happen when they started turning it off. I mean, this is unbelievable, folks. And this is their attitude, that we're animals and they're doing this to us. We're going to come back. I want you to read through the report and tell them exactly what they were doing straight ahead. This is who run things. But as long as you go, it's liberal, David, we need to stop being racist.
Oh, yeah.
Criticizing government's racist. We need to take the black children and give them pesticides so they die. Or Salon will write a mean article about us, how we're racist. We're here from the federal government. We've got a group called Support. We're here to support you when you're out of the room and stuff. We turn the oxygen down to watch your baby struggle, see what happens. And, of course, you'll find out that I bet money that some of the kids didn't make it. But who knows? Then that ropes the whole hospital into getting used to the secret testing and the bioethics boards and the attitude, oh, don't help that kid. It's premature. This is the new culture coming into medicine that we've been warning you about. And we could hire more people if we weren't taking care of these lazy vets. All the whistleblowers are coming out saying, we ought to take these vets out and shoot them. All our money goes to them. And again, used to it was troops, poor Appalachians people, folks in the Appalachians, and black people. I got to say, Hispanics, Mexicans in the Southwest, because I've read the studies and looked it up, they run from the, quote, free health care and the government vans. That's why they have promos in Austin telling the Hispanic immigrant population, trust us, get in the system, come. And they're like, no, we don't think so. But down in Mexico, too, they're running from the Gardasil shots. They're not stupid. But white people and blacks love it. And I mean, they love it. And the Appalachians, they come grab them, even though they don't trust the government. So this is who they've been targeting. But now it's expanded just to anybody, premature baby. Well, when you're not looking, we're going to turn the oxygen off. How's that sound? David Knight, go over the report itself and tell us why you're hateful and don't want to support people. I wonder if I come up the street with a bag and say, I'd like to put this over your head so you can't breathe. It's for support. We ought to go out and do a promo like that and just say, can I put this bag over your head and start asphyxiating you? I mean, it's good for babies. I mean, the feds are doing it. You're not a terrorist, are you? Go ahead, David.
It's essentially what the Nazis were accused of doing. Right?
Don't be racist.
Just trying to, we'd like to know exactly what the sweet spot is for the appropriate amount of oxygen for these kids. That's what the National Institute of Health study was ostensibly for. They said that the medical personnel routinely give supplemental oxygen to babies born with immature lungs. Too much oxygen can cause severe eye damage, including a blood vessel disease and blindness called retinopathy. Too little oxygen may lead to brain damage and death. Of course, we know that. So that's why the NIH funded this study. But of course, unless you're Joseph Mengele, you're not allowed to do experiments on people without their consent. You're not allowed to do anything to people.
I've already dealt with people. I've already dealt with family in this. They already know the sweet spot for oxygen.
Right.
It's a little bit higher than they're supposed to normally get, and they balance it. If the baby's going to die without oxygen, you give it as much as you need to, and if it has eye problems, that's better than being brain damaged. They already have it all figured out. The NIH is just running around playing God, breaking the law to set the precedent. Sorry, go ahead.
That's right. Now, you said we're going to find out some of these children died. Yes, one of them did. And her story, she's talking about 3 different families. In 2 of those families, the children are now 7 years old, and they both struggled, they said, with myriad health problems. One of those children died, a third child died within 3 weeks. So that's the thing. And what really strikes me, Alex, is not just that they would do this type of thing, because we've seen this, as we reported on, it's happened over and over again, but just this kind of manipulative, Machiavellian way they come in and say, we're support. They force this into an acronym that they can come in and use and make these parents think that they're a support group, that these children are going to get all the normal health care.
Well, it's like Patriot Act or Homeland Security or New Freedom Initiative or Affordable Care Act that doubles and triples your prices. I mean, it's all a big sick joke on us by these freaks. And that's the realization you got to come to, folks. I've only just now come to it after almost 20 years on air. The globalists really enjoy hurting people. I mean, those of us that aren't evil, we just don't get it. David Knight's coming up. I'm going to do 5 more minutes with him. We're going to hand the baton to Paul Watson and he, while I spend some good time with my children. But wild horses can't drag me away, so I'm still here. Folks, please spread the word about the broadcast. We have decoded the enemy operation. This show does have the pulse of what's happening worldwide. We need to reach more people. Tell 10 people a day about Infowars.com and the free audio and video feeds and your local AM and FM affiliates. It's vital. Stay with us. Hour 2 and 3, jam-packed. More on the secret experimentation. Tell people about the show now. Your email list. Don't wait. Take action. We need your help. All right, folks, into hour number 2. We've got so much massive news, so many important things we haven't even gotten to yet. We haven't recapped the final developments at Bilderberg 2014 and how important this year's coverage was. I wouldn't say as big as last year, but with thousands of protesters, but it was definitely a big year with a lot of foreign coverage. David Knight's going to be covering that in the 3rd hour with a special guest from England. Paul Watson's coming up in about 20 minutes. He'll be riding shotgun with David Knight as well. But David, getting back in